We are going through every single A-League club and giving them a season review. And next up, we are talking about Brisbane Roar. A very disappointing campaign by Brisbane Roar. It's high standards, I would say. A team with plenty of history. Of course, a successful team they had, less than a decade ago. And to see where they are now, this is a low point in the history of Brisbane Roar. So we get to think about where did it go wrong for Brisbane Roar. And the main thing that sticks out for me, if you look at especially their playing squad from last season, a team who made finals last season, they had some really good players in that squad. And the three players that I look to are that front three. Dylan Wenzel-Halls, Riku Danzaki, Joey Champness. Those guys were so dangerous with their combinations and their ability to score goals. And they lost all three players over the off-season, as they did Macaulay Gillespie, as they did Jamie Young, one of the best goalkeepers in the league. And that was interesting seeing all those players leave the club and, watching who they were bringing in. They brought in an Argentine striker, Juan Lezcano. Jordan Holmes, the goalkeeper, arrived as well. A couple other players here and there, Matty Steinman, Nikola Miljuznic. But overall, and I said it heading into this season, that this Brisbane Roar squad, just the quality of the squad just felt a little bit lower than what we'd seen from Brisbane in recent years. And funnily enough, in my ladder prediction, I actually recently did a video reacting to my ladder prediction. Brisbane were one of the few teams that I roughly got correct. I called them to finish towards the bottom of the ladder, and they did do that. And it's because they really didn't have it didn't look like a cohesive squad, a squad that really had those star players that they needed. When it comes to star players, credit to players like Jay O'Shea, who was fantastic this season. He was the assist king for Brisbane Roar and super consistent as well. I'm pretty sure he played every single game for them this season. And regardless of how they performed, Jay O'Shea was getting himself on the ball, was creating stuff for Brisbane Roar. But they lacked, and that leads me to my next point, they really lacked the right man to finish off those chances. And the problem was, it's like every few weeks, it's like they were chopping and changing in terms of who was that number 9. Was it Juan Lezcano? I know he bagged a few goals throughout the season, but he never really looked fully comfortable, which is a shame because he looked like a striker that had, the qualities to be a really successful striker at A-League level. He was tall, he was strong, he had some decent pace. Luka Ivanovic, unfortunately injury was stopping him this season, but he did score a couple decent goals. Cyrus Demi, the youth and excitement that Cyrus Demi brought this season, we saw, flashes of it, but again, he never really got going. Nikola Miljuznic, the winger, injury stopped the progress of his season as well. And again, it's a similar thing. We keep hearing about these injuries that are coming up that are affecting these important players for these clubs, and is it costing them? I'm not saying it going as far as saying that yes, it cost them, but it certainly did make an impact in terms of their success and getting a consistent and, well-performing and well-oiled squad, getting together. It was interesting watching Brisbane Roar too, because a lot of their home games they actually played all right, and they did win a number of those home games, especially against some decent opposition too. But their away form really let them down. I especially remember that first couple months of the season really struggling to get any results away from home. And the COVID break didn't help them as well. There were a few times throughout this season where they were missing, not playing games for weeks and weeks on end. And again, as it did for many other teams, it really halted their progress, Brisbane Roar, and they never really got, after sort of the COVID break around January, they never really, got going. The positive to come out of this season for Brisbane Roar, some of the young players that stepped up. I thought Henry Hall was fantastic. I thought he was one of the best young players to come out of the A-League this season. Eli Adams showed some promise. Alex Parsons towards the end of the season looked pretty decent as well. So there's ingredients there for Brisbane to build a really good squad next season. If they can keep developing those young players, the ingredients are there for Warren Moon to work with for next season. And that actually leads me on to my next point about Warren Moon. I don't think Warren Moon's a bad coach. He got Brisbane to finals last season, but didn't do quite well this season. I'm interested to see whether he sticks around next season. It's funny, when you compare, the season to someone like Sydney FC, I think there's massive pressure on Steve Corica, and that's obviously due to the fact that Sydney FC usually, such a high-performing club, and have dropped down so far. But Brisbane Roar, who finished second last, there doesn't seem to be as much pressure on Warren Moon, despite the fact that Brisbane finished in finals last year. I find that quite interesting. So that'll be interesting to see whether Moon sticks around for next season. season. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. I get the sense that Brisbane like him. I think he enjoys his time there at Brisbane. My question for you guys, though, to round out this video is, do you think Brisbane Roar will bounce back and finish in the finals next season? Or is this the start of potentially an era of Brisbane Roar where they really struggle? You know, can they get the right players to get themselves back into the top half of the table? I'm interested to hear what you guys think. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. It helps me out a whole lot. And hit subscribe so you don't miss your team's season review. My name's Lockie. This is Coastwood Football. See you in the next one.